Hey everyone, it's Maria here. It's good to be here with you today. We have some amazing questions for today and I can't wait to get into it. So let's jump in. First question today is, I attend university and live on campus. Back in mid-March, we were sent home because of coronavirus. I thought I would thrive. Instead, I'm filled with anxiety. It's making it hard for me to feel that I'm getting reliable information from the news. To top it off, the messages coming from the university leadership are inconsistent. I find it hard to believe that they care about the safety of the students. I think they only want tuition money. I don't want to go back when it is over. I'm an INFJ. Can you tell me how to manage my anxiety? And as I don't want to let it defeat me. What a great question. Thank you so much for this question. And I hear you so much. These things are really difficult. You know, there's so much information coming at you all the time. You can find news all 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you look for news, you can find them. And it's their job. It's the news kind of anchors and the newscast's job to keep you engaged with the channel that they are representing. So they're always going to use things that will stimulate a response within you. And especially if you're an INFJ, you're going to be super sensitive to things like, you know, colors and sounds and breaking news, or, you know, a sense of urgency or any other sense of emotion. Because remember, you know, as an INFJ, you are able to feel the emotions of other people, which means that if there's a sad story on news, it's going to affect you. If there's a breaking news story, it's going to affect. I'm even getting anxiety from just saying it like that. Breaking news, like now I'm like, oh, what's happened? I'm not even looking at we're just wired to have that response. So I just want to say, first of all, you don't have to watch news all the time. In fact, this is something I did, and things have started to relax here in Australia now, because we have 25 million people and just over 100 deaths for 25 million people. And of course, every one of those deaths has been a tragedy, and you know, they are mourned, and those people's lives are, the people who are left behind, their lives have been changed forever. So I'm not making light of the numbers, but what I am saying is that, you know, in Australia, things have started to relax because of the numbers. And so it's not so much on anymore. Like, it's not, you know, people aren't drawn to news all the time. They've started to focus on other areas of life and, like, you know, going outside and doing other activities. They're not cooped up at home. But what will help you if you're still in that situation where you can't really move around much and you don't want to, because I know especially in the US, I think every state has now lifted restrictions, but that doesn't actually mean that it's safe to be outside. And in fact, I am personally looking at what's happening in the US and thinking, you know, it's way too early. It's way too early to open. There is no handle on this yet. And if you do go out, please be responsible. Wear a mask and only go out when you have to. But having said all that, if you are cooped up at home, pick out one website, your government website, or wherever is the most up-to-date information on COVID and up-to-date instructions on what to do. And you check that one website no more than twice a day. So you get alerts. You choose when you get the alerts, and that you're not putting yourself to a place of stimulation, a negative stimulation, an anxiety stimulation throughout the day. You say 9 a.m. every morning I'm checking the numbers, and then 3 p.m. every day I'm checking the numbers. And outside of those, I don't want to focus on this COVID. I'm going to focus on what I'm doing today to be a better person a better provider or a better parent or a better writer or a better however you see yourself. In your case, a student, you're going to be a better student when it is time to go out and start doing these things. Many people get anxiety from this COVID situation because they're not focusing on what they're working toward. They're just enamored with information all the time. And that's not healthy. That is not healthy. And the same is true for like when you're going through a grieving phase. You're so enamored by the grief. You're so having a hard time. But it's good to remember that when you are grieving, it's still good to think that there is life outside of that grief. So there's your grief life, then there's life outside of the grief, and you choose when you attend to either. Because, if you are grief stricken, and I think everybody here has probably experienced some grief, it can be really, it can be easy to kind of let go of your life and your life kind of start going downhill because you're not paying attention to what's happening outside of your grief world. So you have your anxiety world, and then you have the world outside of the anxiety world, or you have your coronavirus world, and then you have the reality where coronavirus isn't the be all and end all of everything. And just recognizing that there are those two worlds is very, very important. That will help you with the anxiety, because you can then choose, you know what, I'm not going to focus on corona right now. I'm actually going to focus on my studies. And then I'm just going to focus on putting on my face mask and going for a walk and connecting with people, head nods. You can't see smiling, maybe you can see it in the eyes, but, greeting other people and just showing that humanity side of things. Now, you were saying that, it's hard for you to feel that you're getting reliable information from the news. You're not probably going to get reliable. And even if you are getting reliable information from the news, it's coded with all this other stuff that's made to have you an emotional reaction. So don't do that. To top it off, the messages coming from university leadership are inconsistent. So if this is something that really worries you, you should write them a letter. And if you have other students that you're in touch with and they're feeling the same way, you should get together and write a letter together and say, this is inconsistent. We don't feel safe. We don't have confidence in your leadership when it comes to this. What are you going to do to rectify this? So start asking for those questions. You think they're only after your tuition money? That may or may not be true. I don't know. But it's easy to, when you feel lack of confidence in somebody's leadership, it's easy to start thinking that they're doing, it's easy to give their actions meaning that it may or may not have. So just keep an eye on that you're not making assumptions about people just because you've lost confidence in their leadership. You were saying, I don't want to go back when it's over. I'm an INFJ. I have a feeling that a lot of institutions, educational institutions, are actually going to have an online version of the studies as a result of the COVID. So instead of kind of focusing on what you don't, that you're worried that you won't be able to have, start asking the questions. Start saying to, start communicating with the university and saying, hey, is there going to be a chance that we can continue doing the online studies after this is over? I don't feel comfortable with going back to school, and so on. So start the dialogue. So don't assume that there's not a solution. There might be a solution. We just don't know yet. So I hope that answers your question. Definitely don't let anxiety defeat you. It's not worth it. Your anxiety has a very important part, plays a very, very important part in your life in terms of keeping you safe. And so I would like to encourage you to differentiate the anxiety world with the world where there is no anxiety, and go to both worlds so that you can consciously allow the anxiety to be there for things that you actually need it for, not this induced sense of hype and anxiety that you can see in the news all the time. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you for that question. That was just fantastic.